According to a report from ESPN's Paul Gutierrez, owner Mark Davis has, quote, given his blessing for Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce to make a move, any move, so long as it makes sense. News or noise, Michael?
This is the Lombardi Line with former NFL executive Michael Lombardi. Now here is your host, Stormy Buonantony, on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Let's separate the impactful from the insignificant with one simple question. News or noise?
And it's good to start with something from an NFL insider here, Michael, because this isn't actually a report. This is something that was said on NFL Live earlier this week from Adam Schefter that are we reading into a little too much or not? So he said that the Cowboys might be a sleeper candidate to draft a quarterback in this year's draft, saying at some point in time they might have to draft a quarterback higher than you'd think with Dak going into the final year of his contract. Might be time to get someone in there and start grooming him. Is that news or noise, Michael?
Oh, I think it's huge news. And I don't think Schefter would say that if he didn't know more than what he's saying. That's the one thing you always do when it comes to Adam's reports. He couches it so that he protects the person, give him the information. He dangles it out there. He kind of knows more than he's saying on pretty much everything. And he wants to get it out there, but he doesn't want to get it out there where it's a definitive because obviously we know everything could change. But look, I think Dallas is in the same spot that Minnesota was in with Kirk Cousins. Enough is enough. We've paid a lot. He wants more. And you have no leverage if you don't get a quarterback. And I think Jordan Love has enticed people to want to go down this road. I think this is news. I think it's valid. And I think it's something, if I were Jerry Jones, I would definitely do.
Michael, you know what my first thought was when I heard this? What does that say about Trey Lance, who you went out and grabbed from the 49ers?
Yeah.
Like, I thought that's what you were trying to do with him, is groom him. But clearly, I mean, he's not even 24 years old. You're paying him $5.3 million, and no belief there if you go and draft a quarterback, that's for sure.
Well, they know him, right? So they've watched 17, 18, 19 weeks of practice, and they can see him, and they can go in and have a really good idea about what the player's capable of doing without having game time. So I do think they're comparing this draft crop to Trey Lance. And if Jerry was sold on Trey Lance, I don't think Adam would have this report. I think you're dead on accurate, Stormy.
We go from Schefter to Scheffler. World number one, Scottie Scheffler, and his wife are expecting their first child, Michael. And he told reporters that should his wife Meredith go into labor, he's going to leave the Masters. I mean, you think about it. He's already won one a couple years ago. This is his first child. But news or noise, if she goes into labor early, Scheffler's out of there.
I think it's news. I mean, I think it's big-time news. I don't know if Mrs. Scheffler wants him to leave, but, obviously he wants to support his wife. I don't know. I was in there. I couldn't look, but I was there. I'm sure knowing my wife, if I had a chance to win a tournament, she would say, you stay there, I'll take care of this. But, times are a-changing, and I think ultimately that comes down between the couples. I know that I would not give up the opportunity to win a championship if my wife thought I should stay. But if she wanted me there, then obviously we know who makes that decision.
Yeah. Sam Burns.
See how politically correct I was on
well
that?
Done. Well
what
played.
What would you do, Stormy? What would you do on that? Let's take a hypothetical here. Chris got a chance to win the Masters Saturday. You go into labor. You want him by your side or you want the green jacket?
I mean, this isn't fair asking me this.
I know your answer.
This isn't fair asking me this because of, who I am and, the way that I was raised as an all sports, all the time human being.
I know your
Go get the green jacket and
answer.
bring that cash home, homie. But not everybody's like that. And I'll say it's not only Scottie Scheffler. Sam Burns' wife, apparently her due date is next week as well. So both of them potentially on their way out if their wives go into labor. According to...
horrible timing by both.
Awful.
I mean, you got to go. You got to say, look, we got to keep April clear on birthdays, right?
Aren't you supposed to plan these things out? Come on, man. According to
Exactly.
DraftKings, house rules. If either withdraws from the tournament after they have already begun, full tournament bets will be graded as losers. So keep that in mind if you did take the plus 450 on the favorite in this spot. We talked a little bit earlier about the Raiders potentially trading up in the draft. And according to a report from ESPN's Paul Gutierrez, owner Mark Davis has, quote, given his blessing for Tom Telesco and Antonio Pierce to make a move, any move, so long as it makes sense. News or noise, Michael?
Oh, I think it's news because last year the Raiders were trying to move up to get a quarterback, and the price was so steep. I don't think that Mark Davis felt it was the right value for the deal, whether it was for Stroud or for Young. But they were in play for the first pick in the draft last year. There's no question they were in play. And then Carolina blew them out of the water and made this incredible offer. And I think Mark Davis was kind of, I would say, not happy, but I think Mark Davis was like, are we going to give up all this for an undersized quarterback? You know, part of Mark Davis running the team is he still has a lot of his father's legacy within his education. So, yeah, I could see that. I could see them doing that. I think it's really on Telesco to figure out which one they would have to move up to get. Is it Drake May? Who is it? You know, what would they have to do? Could they stay where they are and get Penix behind Minnesota at 11 and they're 13? That remains to be seen. But the one thing is, if they went up to 7 or 8, it's not going to be as costly as going to 3.
Yeah. My thought is I feel like they'll be able to get Penix where they are at just sitting there, and he would be a great option in my brain. But if you want a franchise guy and you really believe in one of those top 3, you're willing to pull out all the stops. We'll see how that shakes out. One thing I do know for sure is Gardner Minshew's not the future, and Aiden O'Connell sure as hell is not. Let's go to college basketball, Michael, where John Calipari had his introductory press conference and had some mixed feelings on the state of the Hogs program. Take a listen.
I'm jacked about another opportunity. I'm like, let's go. Now, I met with the team. There is no team. So now Hunter's really extremely confident, but we got to get a roster together. And some of it is a little bit of everything, but we will.
First off, I feel very uncomfortable seeing him in that color. But secondly, news or noise, Michael, that Cal met with the team. There is no team.
Well, I think it's news because there is no team at USC, the one that Musselman's meeting with. Yeah. There is no team at SMU. There is no team when the new coach of Kentucky gets appointed. I mean, this isn't an Arkansas problem. This is an NIL issue. There is no teams. They change all the time. And so, don't tell me whoever gets the Kentucky job's meeting with 12 guys who are ready to go. We already know they're out of the draft, right? We know that. So this is just the league that we're in. It's not an Arkansas problem. It is a NIL issue. And it's going to continue to be that way. Look, Indiana State, I think, lost their whole team because their coach went to St. Louis. So now, you've got all those things happening at every level, whether it's a Power 5 or whether it's the MAC or whether it's, the American Athletic Conference, whatever it is, it's going to change. So, look, I think, what's fascinating to me, Stormy, is Cal received a hero's welcome in Arkansas. I mean, a hero's welcome. Did you see the standing ovation that John Hunt got for when they announced it? They're in the stadium. They're in the basketball arena. It looks like it's packed. And they were going crazy. He got a hero's welcome. In Lexington, they wanted him gone. And the guy that Cal replaced has been to the Final 8 2 of the last 3 years where Cal hasn't even been seen around there. No. Everything is perception in the world we live in. Right? It's just so much perception. It's remarkable. He got to hear. I mean, look, MacArthur didn't get this kind of welcome when he came back from the Far East.
And, Michael, the perception is right now that who wants the Kentucky job? We just keep hearing more and more head coaches declining the opportunity. Scott Drew, the latest, he's staying at Baylor. So what's going to happen there in Lexington, Kentucky? I don't know. We got one more here I want to hit you with because our boy Elliott has turned the page from the Purdue Boilermakers to his Indianapolis Colts. And apparently Anthony Richardson is on a mission in his comeback, has a video out there of him back out there on the practice field. News or noise, Michael, that he is on a mission?
Well, I think it's news. Look, I think the number one objective for the Colts is to make him a passer. Because if he's going to keep running around, it's going to be hard. right? It's going to be hard. And I think the number one objective for Shane Steichen is to get the offense tailored to where he is a passer, not a six-back runner. And I think that's going to be critical. But this kid's got enormous amounts of talent. And I said this, I thought he should have gone back to school for one more year, and he probably would have been the first pick in the draft or the second. But he got picked so high, it didn't matter for him to go back to school. And I think ultimately this is the year where we're going to see all that potential. Is it real, or is it, the situation where, you are where, potential has two meanings to the word, right? We know that. And so I think that is the case, and we'll see how it works out.